Hello and welcome to episode 104 of the Critical Twits podcast, where today we're brought to you in video if you're on YouTube.
Sad for you other listeners.
Sing the theme tune. Hello and welcome to the Critical Twits. Today I'm joined by Aaron Ravinsky.
Hello. And I'm introduced by Brian Ennis.
I've messed that up, haven't I?
Oh no, it's fine.
I was going to do a funny intro and then I lost the courage of my own convictions.
Aww.
I was going to introduce you in a fun way and then I just went, it's Aaron, look at his face. Like that. Look at that.
Yeah, we don't get to see our faces very often, so...
Yeah, it's good. So, as well as being available on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Podbean, Podcast Addict, and all the other good podcast pages, we are also available on YouTube. And up until now, we just released the audio with a fancy picture.
Yeah.
But if you want to see our beautiful bearded faces while we record the podcast, then you can head over to YouTube and see us in glorious, what is supposedly 1080p, but is actually my shitty webcam, which we will be upgrading as soon as I've paid the ransom fee off.
Your poor camera.
Yes. Oh, I meant for family members.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah,
don't worry
I just owe a lot of money to the mafia.
Yeah, that's normally who kidnaps people
The
for
board
ransom.
game mafia! Because today we're going to talk about 3 more quite fantastic, mostly, 2-player games that you can play with your loved ones.
Yeah. Please stop touching me.
I'm sorry. So, yeah, we did an episode long ago where we talked about some of our favourite 2-player games.
Yeah.
And today we're going to talk about 3 more 2-player games, more specifically, and not in any order because it's just the order that they're stacked up. We're going to talk about SuperHot, the board game.
Yep.
Is it super hot or super not? Super listen to super find out.
No.
Okay.
Codinca, which I think the lighting... Oh, there we go. That's a bit better. More visual for those who are actually watching.
Yeah,
makes no
Codinca.
sense of thing. Yeah.
Codinca.
It's Codinca.
Codinca. That's words starting to lose all meaning.
Yeah.
And we're also going to play Fugitive, or Fugitive in the original Spanish, which is a game. We haven't really introduced the other one, so I'm not going to explain what that one is, first of all. So, yeah, we're looking for games, not necessarily for a big game night where there's lots and lots of people, but the kind of games you can play before or during a podcast with your friend.
Yeah.
Or games that you can play while you're waiting for the rest of your gaming group to turn up.
Yeah.
Quite often we'll play two-player games like that.
Or if you play one of those horrible games that has elimination in them and you're the 2 people sat in the corner because you've been kicked out.
Yes. Yeah. That is a thing that happens. Or even games you could play with your special other person.
Aww.
If you have one. And if you don't, that's fine.
Might be a way of finding one.
You could do, yeah. Do people... Because... going to the pub on a date, that's a thing.
Yeah.
Going to the cinema, going for food, going to the local BDSM club and strapping on something leathery and really going for it. If that's what you're into. Do people go to board game cafes for dates, maybe?
Any of the board game cafe owners who are listening, please let us know. I think so.
If you've been to a board game cafe on a date, you're my hero and or heroine. Not heroine. Heroine. Very different. And yeah, let us know because it would be quite interesting.
Yeah. I mean, me and wife with Twitter have gone essentially as a date.
Yeah.
But we're already married, so it's not like as an introductory
I
thing,
suppose.
so
Like,
we know what games we like.
Date night in a relationship is a different thing to dating and
Yes.
things are hard.
Yeah, people are complicated.
Yeah. So these are games that we recommend, sometimes with some caveats.
Mm.
But we've not picked 3 shit games to talk to you about.
No,
we've got some good games. Yeah.
I don't like whinging.
I actually really like whinging, but I only like whinging if then something good happens because I whinged. So I love a complaint.
Yeah.
I'm quite happy to ring up my energy company, my other utility companies, my broadband company, someone who I didn't like the look of once, and then just whinge until they give me free stuff. I've had 4 months of free Amazon Prime in the last year.
Nice.
Yes, because the moment something is late, I'm like, why?
It just surprised me. I mean, I live in the sticks, and my stuff gets delivered the next day.
Yes.
Normally by some poor person in their own car, but...
Yeah, they have a habit of not delivering it where they say they're going to deliver it. So they say, like, quite often they'll go, we have given it to one of your neighbours.
Cool.
And none of my neighbours have heard of it. So either my neighbours are stealing, which maybe, or they're not. Sometimes they've said, we have delivered it to your flat, and they've actually hidden it in a cupboard downstairs. That's fun.
Yeah.
So it's not so good, but, free £8 worth of stuff every time.
Okay.
That's
Whinging
fine.
is useful, but
Yes.
not in a podcast format.
Yes, that arm's not visible.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about Fugitive first of all.
Yep.
Fugitive is 2-player only, so you can't scale it up or down for other numbers of people. It is... Oh, they get to see how poorly prepared I am. It was released in 2016 by Fowers Games, and it was made in China and has the world's tiniest barcode on the on the bottom. It comes in a rather fetching box that looks like a little briefcase.
Yeah, I do like that box.
With a little magnet at the top. You get some magnet noises.
Ooh.
There we go. That might make someone sick on the internet. And essentially is a game of one person running away and one person chasing after them.
Yeah.
So kiss chase for adults who don't want to actually get their faces wet.
I was going to say hide and seek, but yeah, sure,
Hide
kiss
and
chase is suitable as well.
I never played kiss chase as a child, only as an adult. Never played it when I was a kid at all. Like the idea terrified me when kiss chase was a thing.
Yeah, it was a bit weird.
It was frightening as hell, and so I would abstain.
See twice. There's some seriously disturbing connotations behind the whole process that I don't like.
It's a little bit weird now
Yeah.
looking back, but it was a big thing when we were kids. A bit
there's
like
a sense of childhood behind it. Yeah.
a bit like all the sexism, homophobia, and psychotic rage in episodes of Friends.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, actually quite disturbing from a naughty's perspective.
Yeah.
I quite like Friends. I don't care.
Yeah. No, I still like it, but you just go and ignore that episode.
Yes. So in Fugitive, one player is the fugitive, one player is the marshal. Insert Harrison Ford reference here. I don't think I've ever actually knowingly seen the film The Fugitive.
It's all right, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's well paced.
Does he get angry about his wife?
Yes, because...
Give me back my wife. Or you killed my wife.
Yes, you can.
Or you're my wife now, Dave.
I mean, he could be shouting, "Give me back my wife!" in a kind of, I'm grieving and I don't know how to process this.
She could have been ransomed.
It could have been.
It was a cunning bit
Yeah.
of foreshadowing for a film that isn't there. So his wife's dead.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. This game's much darker if you think that his wife is dead.
Yes, yeah. The graphic, the design on the cards and things like that is very cartoony. It isn't actually meant to be that dark. But, you take it how you want. It's fine, it's a game.
It's not too dark, it's quite shiny.
Yeah.
Pretty. I quite like it. It's got a nice little box going on.
It reminds me of the designs on Catch Me If You Can, actually.
Yes, yeah, the little cartoons
Yeah.
on it. Yeah. So this is probably a bit too late, but we're not going to do a full review of all these games. We're going to save those for some little videos we're going to release later, but we will talk you through our kind of thoughts and feelings of playing it. And then kind of condense them down, I think. It's a bit more freeform, it's a podcast.
Yeah, just chat about them.
What the hell this dance is.
No.
But it's what we do now. Fugitive is an asymmetrical game.
Yes.
So you're playing slightly differently to each other. One person is drawing cards, placing them face down on the table to show where they are. The cards are numbered 0 to 42, and you can only jump a certain number of cards each time, up to 3 cards per time.
Yeah.
So you couldn't go place 0, which starts on the board. You couldn't place 4 straight away. You could place 1, 2 or 3, unless you use some of your spare cards that let you sprint and have a little value in the corner, and you can sprint and you can go a little bit further, but then the marshal knows that maybe you're like stretching yourself, you're kind of leaving clues, you're like, oh, they've put down loads of cards, and it empties your hand as well, which can actually be quite bad.
Yes.
The marshal then will also be drawing cards,
Yep.
and when they draw a card, they never play it down, but if they draw 9, they know you're not at 9 because they've got 9.
Yeah.
There's only one of each card. And so they then guess and have to try and guess where you are.
Yep.
And they got a little board, they can scribble things off and be like, I know where you are.
Really useful.
It's really useful. The fugitive wins if they can get all the way to 42 without getting caught. The marshal catches the fugitive by revealing not just where they are, but also the numbers on every single other face down card on the board. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, simple as that.
Really, really simple. But I really, really enjoyed this when we've played it. I think I've played half a dozen games, maybe a couple more. They only take 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes if you're a bit of a ditherer or you're learning the game.
Yeah.
So it's nice and quick. Doesn't take long to play at all.
No.
You played for the first time today?
I did, yeah.
How quickly did you pick the game up?
By the second turn.
Yes.
Yeah, that was it. It's like, okay, I do this and do that. There you go, simple.
Yeah, it's nice and simple. Sometimes simple isn't the best thing in a game. Sometimes you want something crunchy you can get your teeth into.
But there's still a lot of thinking involved with this.
Yes, yeah. It's deceptively simple. Yeah. And at its heart, it reminds me of a good puzzle game mixed with a bit of bluffing.
Yeah.
Because there were a couple times when we were playing where you put down sprint cards underneath, so you could have moved up to 5 spaces, not 3, but you actually only moved 2.
Yeah,
trying to throw me off your scent.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of tactical kind of messing with the marshal from the fugitive side that you can do, and as the marshal, both players are drawing from 3 different decks. One numbered from 4 to 14, one from 15 to 28, and then one from 29 to 41. And so when I was the marshal last, when we were playing, I just drew everything from the middle deck.
Yeah.
I let you have free reign at the beginning. I didn't care.
Yeah.
Didn't care because I was creating a roadblock in the middle where I thought you're going to get stuck. Yeah. That gives me time to mess around at the beginning. You didn't really realise what I was doing, so you ran kind of face first into my roadblock.
Yeah.
And then I was like,
it really
nah.
Yeah, it did work as well because it did cause me to have to wait a little while
to
pick up, which then gives you a chance to start picking up the cards ahead of time so you can limit my options.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when you sprinted ahead, you sprinted and I was like, he's definitely on 21 because I've got 15, 16, 17, 18, 22, 23 and 24. He's definitely where he is.
Yeah.
So you had to sprint into it, and then when I said 21, you had to reveal all the sprint cards underneath it, and I was like, well, he's definitely not at 3, 7, 9 and 12 because he's burnt those to get there.
Yeah.
Aha! Scribble things out on my little board, and it was good.
Yeah. Nice way of eliminating all your options, things like that.
Yeah. So it's a really fun little puzzle. You're kind of setting the puzzle up. The fugitive's kind of in charge setting up the puzzle.
Yeah.
But it's the kind of game where every time I've played it, I've immediately been like, now it's your go to be that, and I get to be you.
Yeah.
And you swap over straight away. You don't ever really... You wouldn't just play one game.
No. You'd lose, that's the whole point of an asymmetrical game.
Yeah.
You lose half of it. You only ever play the runner in net run all the time. Well, you don't know... You never actually play the game.
Yeah.
It's the same with this.
Yeah.
But the style of play is similar enough not to take ages to relearn mechanics, which is nice.
Yeah, you're still... The board is the same. You don't have separate decks or particularly separate mechanics.
No.
The fugitive gets to play the cards. The marshal gets to get the cards. That's the difference. Yeah. You're still drawing. You both draw a card at the start of your turn. So that's really simple to remember. Because both players at the start, they go draw a card.
Well, you say simple to remember, but both of us kind of forgot on multiple occasions.
Naughty Aaron, don't tell the people at home the bad things that we do when we play games.
Because the puzzle's so good with it.
You're immediately like, I want to guess that, and you know what you want to guess, and you're like really excited, and then you're like, oh, I didn't draw a card, and I've just given them an advantage because I've not expanded my own options.
It's like, oh yeah, there's 4 cards I can get rid of straight away. I know exactly what they are. I feel so clever, but yeah.
Another good thing about the game is only 15 quid. When I bought it, so it's a nice thing, and it is a nice size to slip in your pocket.
Yeah,
it's not the easiest game to play travel wise because it does take up, once you start getting a long chain of cards that you've visited, it starts to take up quite a bit of space, so it's not the kind of thing you could necessarily actually travel with. But they haven't done that thing where they've put it in a giant box to take up loads of space in the shop to grab your eye, which is fine, kind of. But then when you actually bring it home and you're like, it doesn't, I've got lots of games.
Yeah.
And it's a first world problem, but with first world people, that's what happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not going to take up loads of space. And you could take it away with you somewhere. Take it on holiday, wine it, dine it, romance it, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. But you could take it away with you and play it.
Yeah.
Hotel, bar, it'd happily sit.
On a date.
On a date, yeah.
It's portable enough for you to put your backpack about looking like a weirdo.
On any other kind of dried fruit that you so desire.
Yes, it probably would go quite well, yeah. That's a cracker.
Is a date is a date? Is the fruit a date, or is it a different fruit? Like a raisin is a grape that's been dehydrated, right?
I think a date's a date.
It is a date.
Yeah, I think so.
It's because they're always like shriveled and dry.
It's a weird thing for a palm tree, I think, isn't it?
Don't know, mate.
Help.
Cool. I love the bits on this podcast where we look like fucking idiots.
We don't eat fruit. That's not obvious already.
I eat lots of fruit.
Actually, no, that's true. We did have a bunch
Yeah.
of our really early videos where you were introducing us to things like pomegranate seeds and stuff.
Yes, which are like delicious berries with toothpicks in them that you have to eat. It's not a good fruit. 0 out of 7 would not recommend pomegranate seeds. Suck the flesh from them and spit the toothpicks at your enemies.
Yes.
Then it's fine. But it's not a good fruit. I feel like we've explained more about fruit than we have about the game.
Well, there's not much more to explain with it.
No.
Which is why we're going to go into this with a review, I think, a bit more than doing it on a podcast like we've done in previous times. Because actually, there's a little bit more visual element to it, like it's understanding how the puzzle and stuff works.
Yeah,
you can't really explain without playing it.
I like it because it's a puzzle. When we were playing it, it's not the kind of game where you're sat there chatting away and stuff's happening and the game is incidental. Yeah. It's like focusing on the game, quiet, and then someone does something and you're like, you bastard. Yeah. And then you carry on. And it has that kind of feel to it.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with the manhunt mechanic.
Yes, so that's quite a good thing actually to bring up at the end. So when the fugitive gets to 42, which is a nice choice of number to win actually, I like that. When the fugitive gets to 42, as long as the marshal hasn't got too far and got into the 30s with their correct guesses, they get to try and guess one thing. They get to guess like 7, and if it's 7 they flip it over, and they go 24, and if it's 24 is there they flip it over, and the moment they go 32 and 32 is not there they lose.
Yeah.
One thing I haven't said, and this is quite key, we're all over the place today, a bit rusty, is that the marshal can guess a single number, and it'll get a yes or a no, and if it's a yes it gets flipped over. They could say more than one number. They might go 7 and 12, and they have to both be right and both be correct for both numbers to get flipped over. So because the fugitive starts slightly ahead, they put 2 cards down to start with, and then up to then 1 each time, or they can wait. Yeah. And so it kind of balances out when you're like, I definitely know that's 2 because I guessed 1 and I guessed 3. It's got to be 2. It has to be 2, logically speaking. Yeah. But then you'd be like 2 and 4. 2 and 5, 2 and 6, so that you don't have to waste an entire turn going, it's 2, and being kind of bored about it. So it has like a catch-up kind of thing that you can do in it, which is nice. I like it because it's a puzzle. It's very logical, so you can sit there and be like, no, you did this, and I've got this, and got that.
Yeah, you've got these options. You can only move that many cards. You put that many cards in, so you can move up to that number. Yeah. Oh, I'm going to go here because that seems like a reasonable point.
Yeah, but even with logic, it's never, it has to be this. And it can only ever be that. And as long as you follow the train of logic, you're always going to win as one side or the other. Because you'll go, logically, it's 23 or 24. It could be either of those numbers. Yeah. You're a 23 man or you're a 24 man, Aaron. And it might be that you're trying to read whether they've bluffed you, or it could just be a bit of a guess. Yeah. But that's fine because the game only takes 10 minutes to play. Yeah. If you've played for 4 hours and it comes down to a guess, you're probably going to punch something, because that's what I do. I get a bit of my rage on.
Like you said, there's a bluffing mechanic in it, so there is a little bit of it trying to read their faces. You're saying the numbers. Yeah. If you maybe have guessed it alongside with another one, see if they've smirked when they've gone to inevitably check because they've got one to put down.
Yeah. You know. Actually paying attention to which deck your opponent is drawing from is a thing I didn't do. I should have
tried at times, but it didn't work very well. I sort of had a rough estimate when you got to the middle ones. It's like, oh, he's got to be in the middle now. Yeah, and they didn't really help anyway.
You can look at the deck and be like, that deck is suspiciously low, and I don't remember drawing from it. Damn you, Ravinsky, and kind of go with it that way. But it's a good game. I have enjoyed it every time I've played it.
Yeah, I definitely want to play more of it.
Yeah, now. And it's one of those games where I play it and then I want to play it again. I want to swap over. Yeah, and then when you've played that quite often, it's like, right, I've thought of a really good idea of how I could play it, swap it back around. And yeah, we played several games. We did play, there are some cards that you can use to randomise things and have some events. That didn't really work for me. I think it took away from the purity of the puzzle, and it just kind of messed with things a little bit.
Yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily...
It sort of damaged the core gameplay, but didn't add enough in to make it more interesting.
It feels like, because the game was... let me check. Special thanks to all the Kickstarter backers.
Stretch goals.
So it feels like a stretch goal that wasn't necessarily needed.
Yeah.
I'm not going to look on the internet to check that, because whether that's true or not, that is the impression that it gives.
Yeah.
And feelings are everything. Yeah, why not? Cool. So that's one game we recommend. We also have Codinca. Codinca we talked about a long time ago when we went to Dragon Meet, and we kind of talked a little bit about it, but we thought we'd revisit and talk about it in more detail. Codinca is a 2 to 4 player game, but we're focusing on the 2-player experience.
Yeah.
Again, quite quick, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It says here.
I think it took us about that long.
Yeah, not too tricky. And it's a tile-based game. You have 4 different colours of tiles. One of those is your colour, and you're trying to move them around the board and try to get them into set patterns that you've drawn from a deck. You'll always get them in a line, get them diagonally, get them in like a little close square, and then like a slightly further away square. The tricky bit of the game is that you will randomise that, so you might have to get a line of all yellows or a line of all white, because every tile is double-sided and can be flipped over as a move. And go from white to yellow and back again. And you can flip any tile you like over, so you can mess with your opponent, flip theirs over. You can move your opponent's tiles as long as you're swapping them with yours. You can move them over and kind of move them about. And it's kind of like, it's similar to games like chess, checkers, drafts, that kind of thing.
Or if you've been seeing video games like Bejeweled, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, a little bit. Yeah, you're kind of moving the different coloured things around. And it's fairly easy again to pick up.
Yes, yeah.
The complication comes, there's an extra mechanic that you can use. So normally you can only sort of move sideways, up and down, or diagonally. You can use trap cards, you get 3 of them. Once they're gone, you use them once. To either sort of shuffle a row, so you'd move everything down one and then put the one at the end at the other end. Or you can rotate 4, like clockwise or anti-clockwise round. Or you can use the back of it, which will have a unique pattern of whites and yellows, so it will change the colour of the entire board. Which Aaron is smirking because he beat me. I had everything set up 1 move away, and you still had 2 objectives to complete. The winner is the first to complete 4. I had 1 left and I was 1 move away, and you reset the entire colour of the board. Messed up my go and then stole the victory cruelly from me like some kind of horrible Peaky Blinder. Did they thieve things, or did they just stab people with their baseball caps? They're not baseball caps, are they?
No, they're
cricket caps, because that's what came first.
Yes.
I know a lot about history.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not called a Peaky Blinder, I think.
It's a peaky cricket cap.
Or a peaky.
Is it called a peaky?
Yeah,
isn't that a little dog?
That's Peking.
A Peking?
Yeah, like a duck.
Okay, is that... When they say Peking Crispy, is it Peking Crispy Dog? And I've been reading it.
No, it's Peking Crispy Duck, but that's a genetic mutation from Peking dogs.
Isn't that when you're looking at things like this?
Yeah, that's how it's cooked in the oven. You have to peek at it, otherwise you ruin the rotisserie.
Yeah. Isn't that where you whip something and it holds its shape?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I can do this all day.
Yeah.
I know at least 47 words. I'm not afraid to use them.
Damn your degree.
Yes. Yeah, that's what £35,000 get you.
Yeah, no, again, it's got that nice, just to pull it away from that tangent slightly, it's got that nice puzzle mechanic again to it. It was very satisfying doing that, because I was trying to line things up so I could just change all my colours over. I was hoping it would ruin yours, but there's always that little part in your brain that's going, oh, that might actually help them anyway, but... Yeah.
It's a very abstract game. I think the idea is that you're trying to solve some kind of...
Incan
puzzle. Yes. Unlock the temple and claim the lost treasures of Codinca. Quite why, if you're both there and there's one board, how you unlock stuff and they don't, I don't understand. It's like a really bad version of the Crystal Maze if you actually think about it.
Competitive Crystal Maze, yeah.
Yeah. Tried to play it with some harmonica music and a man with a head who looks like an egg.
Yes, very beautiful egg, but...
You find Richard O'Brien beautiful?
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
He's hauntingly attractive.
I think I always wanted to take him and I wanted to draw lines on his face and then put pins in all the intersections because I think he looks a bit like Pinhead from Hellraiser.
Did you ever see Dark City?
No, I've got it. It's down in the pile of
you have to watch it.
somewhere.
He's one of the bad guys in it.
Okay.
And when you see him, especially towards the end, he's got a very Pinhead feel to him. Doesn't look like him, but he feels like he could have actually played that role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're really on tangents today, aren't we?
It's fine. This is what podcasts are about. You love these tangents.
I do. We do. And tangerines. I had a tangerine today talking about fruit. I prefer them to an orange.
I fucking hate oranges.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you drink orange juice?
No. Can't stand it.
Really? Why not?
It's just disgusting.
Really?
Yeah.
It's like a staple thing.
Yeah.
Like people tell me they don't eat custard, and I'm like,
oh, what? No, can't stand custard either.
Do you like bananas?
Bananas are nice, yeah.
Because I know there's a texture thing with custard, and people who don't like custard tend to not like bananas.
Okay. It's the taste I don't like with custard.
Okay.
And more because I've had bad custard in the past. Possibly. There has been the occasional creme brulee type thing I've enjoyed.
Pink custard you got at school?
Blancmange.
No, like actual custard. It was just pink.
No, well, I didn't go to a fancy enough school.
And you
clearly.
got like the sponge that was like, it was like a 3-inch high sponge, and then it had 1 millimetre of icing, and then 4 hundreds and thousands sprinkled on top.
Oh, we never had hundreds of thousands.
No.
We got spotted dick, and we had to be happy with it.
I don't think I've ever spotted a dick in my entire life. I've never put that in my mouth. I've never.
There was an unfortunate forest right near my primary school.
It looks like
small bits of wood.
Spotted dick seems to belong to the same era of puddings as bread pudding.
Yeah.
Both of which look and sound disgusting. And why would you have that as a treat? Pudding should be a treat.
Yeah. Cool. That is exactly how they are, to be honest.
It's like a remnant of an age where no one was allowed to smile. And therefore that was considered okay as a pudding.
Yeah. It's like, this will not bring you complete misery, but it won't make you happy enough. It's fine.
Yeah. It's like, life is hard. Have a bit of dried fruit and try not to cry, Jeremiah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very Victorian. Yeah.
Anyway.
It's a fun game. I really enjoyed playing it. It's one of those games that has sat in my gaming cupboard for a long time, and then it gets pulled out and it gets played a few times, and then it goes back, and it's not thought about for like a 6 months, a year.
No.
But it's always there. It's really easy to pick it back up.
Yeah, it seems like something that's not hard to learn. Again, it's very clear about what everything has to do.
Yeah.
I did have concerns that for a 2-player game particularly,
that
if you get good at it, there can be basically optimum moves that you do.
Yeah, I think that
might take some of the strategy involved out of it.
Yeah, I think that's avoided because you don't have to make set shapes every time.
No.
Well, you'd make lines, diagonals, and the 2 types of square.
But the colours are
The colours are random. Yeah, so you have random colours and you draw them from a deck. So you know what you're after, but it might be different to last game. And you don't know what your opponent has got. And there are optimum ways. So I had, because 2 of your tiles start yellow and 2 start white. So I tend to go for those ones first, where you've got yellows and whites.
Yeah.
And then, or gold and white. I think it's meant to be gold. It's yellow though. It's yellow. Don't tell them, but it's yellow.
Dirty yellow, that.
The cowardice.
Custard yellow.
Yes, the colour of a craven man's piss. It runs down his leg as he runs away.
Could be appropriate at a temple, to be fair. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom with the giant boulder.
Yes, I don't remember him weeing himself, but again, distinctly possible.
Yeah.
That might be why he ran to the river right at the end. So
he did. It was just to wash the ammonia from his thighs. So I'd go for those ones and then try to get the colours. And if you get if they're all yellow, then that's much easier. But then your opponent's kind of messing with you as well.
Yeah.
And you take great delight in moving my pieces out of the way.
Yeah. I found that deliberately moving your pieces while moving mine might at least annoy you into not doing your thing properly. Although I think I helped on a couple of occasions. You kind of realised it felt like you.
Yeah, well, at the start of the game, you could go for any of the 4 objectives. So I was trying to get mine into a square. You moved them. I was like, that's really close to a diagonal line. Boop, yeah.
Yeah.
Potatoes. And it was good. Did potatoes come from South America? Or was it North America?
Help, internet.
We're really not good at...
Know.
We're never going to start a food-based spin-off, are we?
No.
Cool. For those at home, here is a potato.
Yes.
From Big Potato Games. Thank you very much for the potatoes you have sent us. They are the cuddliest and least rotten after the amount of time I've had them potatoes I've ever met.
Don't make good chips, though.
No. Do you meet a potato? What am I saying? Words are hard.
Potato?
Yeah, I said it's a potato I met.
Oh, okay.
Not meat as in apply the flesh of a dead thing to it.
I was going to say, because yes, I have done that.
Meated a potato, yeah. Bit of beef, bit of crispy roast potato. Dip it in the gravy.
Yeah.
And maybe allow a single piece of sweet corn to just stick to the side of it. Just one thing.
Yeah.
Not a whole corn on the cob.
Although not sweet corn at the moment, because it's really dangerous. If you have any, throw it away.
Yes. Reference that will not age well.
No.
No. So, yeah, Codinca, again, it's quite a cheap little game. It's in a tiny little box, which makes it quite portable. This one is more suited for travel play.
Yeah.
Because you can quite
play in a few inch square, maybe?
Yeah, they're about 2 inches, so you need 8 inches by 8 inches.
Yeah.
The tiles are really nice. They're heavy. That sounded better.
Yeah.
Nice and weighty. They click nicely. I love a clicky tile.
And there is a satisfaction to that.
Yeah, they don't... You're not moving like cardboard chits.
No.
That's a word you don't hear very often. Chit. But yeah, they have a satisfying clunk.
Yeah, they do.
Which was my nickname in engineering school.
No.
I didn't say who this was by. This is by Backspindle Games, which is the other end of Spindle Games. That was terrible.
That was awful.
And also by someone called Ninja Division. They're on the box.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure what role they had to play in this, but Division of Ninjas sounds cool. Unless it's like 2 warring tribes of ninja. It's not a division of ninjas. It's like a military unit.
Divided ninjas.
Yeah, Ninja Division. Or someone who cuts ninjas in half. Maybe like a giant watermelon that uses a sword to cut ninjas in half as revenge
for Fruit Ninja.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm glad you came with me on that and kind of muttered my punchline before I managed to say it. Makes everything better. So again, Codinca, if you like abstract games, you like puzzle games, you like those thinky games. I think it's thinkier maybe than Fugitive. There's not really the bluffing element. It's more kind of a pure abstract feeling game.
Yeah.
But it's one that I have returned to several times, and it has sat in my collection for a while, and I would heartily recommend for a nice gaming evening.
Yeah.
And you get the ink and feel in the hot heat we've been having.
Yeah.
Aaron fled the heat and went across to the other side of the world by the equator, where it was only mildly hotter.
Yeah. But with air conditioning, so it was better. That's not a thing that exists over here.
No. We're not prepared for heat or cold. So when it snows, the entire country grinds to a halt.
Yeah.
And when it's warm, everyone just dies horribly.
Yeah.
We're not prepared. It's not put the aircon on, it's open the window.
Yeah. Put a fan on, stick some ice in front of it and hope.
Yes. Yeah.
This is why Vancouver laughs at us.
Yeah.
Their temperature ranges are about 2 to 5 degrees up and below us.
Okay.
And yet they cope very well in the heat, very well in the cold, and everything is just perfect and fine. And then they see us at a couple of degrees difference, and we just fall apart the instant we have weather.
That's
Even though
insane.
stereotypically as British people, we talk about the weather all the time.
We do.
It's because we fear it.
We do. It is our natural enemy. Many of us are pale.
Yes.
And many of us do not manoeuvre well in snow. I haven't fallen over in the snow for ages.
Oh, I have.
Did you ever have a snowball fight as a child?
Yeah, well,
That
ice ball fight, because we didn't really have enough snow for snowball.
I don't understand why it's socially acceptable to make a hard ball of very cold stuff and throw it in a stranger's face.
I don't throw it at strangers. That isn't socially acceptable. That's weird.
Okay, so most of the snowball fights I've had have been with people I don't really know.
Oh, okay.
Mostly when I was walking to school past a different school that wasn't my school, and they got brave.
We weren't allowed near other schools.
No,
we were the reject school that everybody else's kick-outs went to.
Oh, bless you.
That's all right. It just meant we didn't have to associate with other people.
It's fine.
That's why I'm socially awkward. Not enough snowball fights as a child, clearly. So that's why they're socially acceptable. They help build that trust in people. It's like, oh, he's thrown something at me. Actually, it was just a bit of cold water and ice. Now I've just got pneumonia. I can live with that.
I feel like the longer I'm quiet, the more socially awkward you seem, because you just keep talking.
Yeah.
And then I realise that's possibly a form of bullying. So yeah, Codinca, very much enjoyed playing Codinca. It was a good game. It's probably not one you're going to play over and over and over, but it's easy to get hold of, to sort of pull out and play again.
Yeah.
You don't need to kind of spend 20 minutes reading the rules again, etc., etc. Fugitive's quite the same, actually.
Yes.
It gelled quite quickly. Both games have a nice bit of depth.
Yeah.
So for me, Fugitive, if you like games where you're bluffing and you're lying, I'd lean towards that.
Yeah.
Codinca, if you don't want to get into lying to each other or bluffing each other, maybe that's not something you want to bring into your relationship.
Yeah.
Then you go more for the pure kind of strategy.
Yeah, because as a general rule, you're not going to be messing with each other that much.
Yes.
Deliberately.
One game that is an absolute pain in the backside to pull back out of the gaming cupboard and try to play again is SuperHot, the card game. SuperHot, the card game, is based on SuperHot, the video game, which is based on the extreme weather we've been having. SuperHot is a video game. It's a first-person shooty game where you shoot things from the perspective of the first person, Adam. And it has this really cool mechanic where time only moves when you move. So if you stand still, everything moves incredibly slowly, and if you run towards something, then everything moves really quickly. So it's the kind of game where you can dodge bullets.
Yeah.
It's kind of like bullet time. Or you can
kick a gun out of somebody's hand and grab it in a swift single motion.
Yes, and then shoot someone else and then dive behind a thing and then
while throwing that same gun at somebody else.
Yes.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. It's a really fun game. I really enjoyed SuperHot, the video game. I promised a review of it on the channel 2 years ago. I have the footage. I just never got back to it. Whoops. I will at some point. I promise. But SuperHot, the card game, very much is trying to emulate that feeling of time moving. It's originally designed, the base game is actually a solo game. It's for one player, and you play against sort of an artificially intelligent deck with some randomly generated goals, but it comes with a couple variants where you can play it two-player. So we started off, we played the cooperative variant of the game.
Very similar to the single player experience.
Yes, where you just take turns and you're still trying to achieve the same goals and work together to defeat what is essentially a conveyor belt of obstacles.
Yeah.
And they move through. And it has this really cool system where if you defeat an enemy, so if you defeat someone with a shotgun, so you play some cards to either dodge past them or to punch them in the head. If you defeat an enemy with a shotgun, you pick that up and immediately have it in your hand. So it's a kind of a deck building game.
Yeah.
You have that immediately in your hand because you've kicked them in the face and stolen their shotgun, and it's in your hand. Then, if that's taken you, say, 3 cards to do, you run past the first 3 cards on the board because time has moved on. You've done 3 things, so 3 things move along, which is great if it's stuff you want because they go into your discard pile and can be shuffled into your deck later, so they come back. It's not so good if they're bullets that enemies have fired because they end up in your face, in your thighs, and in your soft pectoral muscles.
Which I'm assuming are quite well toned if you can kick shotguns out of people's hands.
That's more lower core.
You still need some good strong core to be able to grab that shot. They're not light weapons.
A pectoral's core. I'd consider them chest.
They are chest, but you need them for the grabbing motion.
Core is low, right? Core is
core is everything. If you don't have a good core, you've got nothing.
That's not core, my little finger.
No.
But you said core is everything.
Yeah, but if you're trying to lift a heavy weight, if you've got good core muscles, it'll help your little finger.
It's slightly overbalancing, I suppose.
Exactly.
I mean, we know as much about exercise as we do about fruit and veg. Yeah, sadly. It has this cool system where time is moving and you're kind of in charge of how quickly time moves. But the game starts to kind of screw you over as you go through the game.
Yeah.
Because anything that's left on the board that you haven't either gone past with time or defeated directly then gets to act. So if you've got people stood there with guns still,
they'll shoot.
They'll shoot you. If they've got katanas, they'll knock cards out of your hand. If they're just punching guys, they don't hurt you unless there's someone distracting you with a bullet, at which point they then punch you as well.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. It feels very similar to playing the game. You're planning ahead.
Yeah.
You're trying to find the optimum route to do the right thing and to achieve your goal. And it's a very puzzly game. I tried to play it on my own. It's not that fun. I don't really enjoy playing games on my own. Do you play many games on your own?
Tried a couple. Normally I'll use it to learn how a game works. Yeah. So I can teach somebody else it, but not really. I'd rather pick up a actual electronic game of some form.
Yeah, if I'm going to play a game on my own, I'll pick up a video game.
Yeah, I need beeps and boops.
Yeah?
Yeah, I need sound and flashing images.
Would you like me to record some beeps and boops? And then you could just play them while you do play board games on your own?
Yeah, I can give it a go, that might help.
You could Skype me and I could just go like, boop, boop, boop.
Get an old telegraph machine so you can give some Morse code while I'm playing. That might work.
On beeps and boops then, R2D2 or BB-8, whose beeps and boops do you prefer?
I think I like R2D2's a little bit more because he's tiny more seems more sarcastic as a machine.
Oh, I like BB-8 because there's like a sense of enthusiasm there that I don't get. I think R2D2, especially in the later films, is kind of jaded and cynical.
So I quite like him because everybody else is sort of like getting slightly more upbeat as everything is going their way a little bit.
Yeah.
Or, hopeless as depressed. And he's just like, oh, fuck it, I don't give a shit.
I'm having a real panic. BB-8 does beep, right? I've not made that.
No, cool. They all the robots make beepy noises or talk if they're C-3PO.
R2D2 and C-3PO presumably have similar levels of intelligence, yeah?
They seem to,
They have artificial intelligence. They think and act on their own.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you be pissed off if you just got boop, diddy boop, boop, and you didn't get hello? Blah, 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 blah.
Maybe that's why R2D2's a massive cynic. It's like, well, nobody understands what the fuck I'm saying anyway, and I'm helping these bastards.
Yeah. Some people can talk their language, though, which is interesting.
Yeah, I noticed that.
But this is not a podcast about Star Wars.
No.
Because we are not toxic man babies.
They are cocks, aren't they?
No, 95% of Star Wars fans are lovely people. But 5% of them are really, really, really annoying. So if you've got really angry about us saying anything about Star Wars fans, you're in that 5% and go away. So, SuperHot the card game then. It's this conveyor belt. It has this lovely time system because the cards you use, so if you shoot someone with your shotgun, that then goes back into the discard pile.
And so we'll come back
for the obstacles, and it will come back round. So there's this kind of really nice circular thing.
Yeah.
That's going on with the game, and there's not so many cards that never comes round. It feels like they've balanced it quite nicely. That you have a couple rounds, and then you're putting the cards back in when the bullets start to come back at you and start to pile up in the deck. If you end up with lots of bullets in your hand, bullets go straight into your hand. They don't go into your deck. If you've got a handful of bullets, you're dead. Much like real life. Yeah. And it's a nice thinky game. I was talking about trying to play it on my own. I don't enjoy board games on my own. I know there's a whole culture of people that really like solo board games and really enjoy it, and that's cool. If you do that, actually, I think you'd probably really enjoy SuperHot because the core game is really, really cool.
The system's lovely.
And because the first variant we played was co-op, essentially we were just playing the same game. We just took turns. Yeah. And the deck itself advances as it would. You just go, my go, the deck does its thing. Aaron's go, the deck does its thing, and it just passes back and forth, and that's really cool.
Yeah. Just instead of putting it, you defeat something that goes into your hand, you're defeating something to put into your cooperative partner's hand.
And there's bits where you can kind of save cards for the other person, so you imagine you're like chucking them the shotgun so they can do something later, or you're saving the pliers so they can pull the bullet out of them. Yeah. That's how you heal, which I quite like. Yeah. It's quite grim. The artwork is very, very faithful to the game. You're either going to love it or you're going to hate it.
Yeah.
It's very much a old vector graphics, red people, black things, white background.
Yeah. It's clean.
Yes. Very, very clean. I like it. I like its really striking visual style. But,
I do. But I can see some people who like a bit more character potentially.
Yes.
I mean, I think there's plenty in there, but...
Yeah, I don't think it's going to appeal to everyone. Yeah. And actually, when I first saw it as a video game, I was like, what is this 1997 throwback bullshit?
Yeah.
I don't like it. And then actually playing the game, I was like, this is really cool because it's you're playing against a computer, you're in a simulation, probably, and that's the story of the game.
Aesthetically, helps you actually play the game because everything is so clean. You can see exactly where everything is rather than getting over confused.
Yeah, it's not like a modern game where everything is brown and you need to see the brown thing against the other brown thing so that you can brown them to death with your brown.
Is this why they made everybody buy HD TVs and go to HD? It was just sort of so you could deal with different shades of brown.
We have the most perfect devices where we can beam something that looks absolutely perfect directly into your eyes, and we've chosen shades of grey and brown.
Yeah.
It's like, let's have all the colours.
Yeah.
Rainbows for everyone.
I think that's why Halo used to do quite well, because it was very brightly coloured as a game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, cool. Video games.
It's quite bright as a board game. So
again, it's a cheaper game. I think it's about £20, not 15.
Yep.
That's how much I paid for it.
And there is another two-player variant in there.
Yes. And if you enjoy playing solo games, yes, go for it. The co-op side, I really enjoyed. It was nice to sit side by side and kind of work out the thing, and you've got someone to talk to about your puzzle.
Yeah, this was with the cooperative game, it was a bit more of a talky version than the other two were.
Yeah. I think one of the reasons I don't like single player games is that if I do something wrong and the game beats me, I'm like, there's nobody here. I'll just take that move back and do it again. Oh, look, I won, I'm amazing. But then inside I'm dead because I know I cheated.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't like to lose, but I also don't like to cheat. And therefore I'm just full of self-loathing, basically. It's not a win-win situation. Do you remember Choose Your Own Adventure books?
Yeah.
This is for book. You open your hands. I really like the co-op variant.
Yeah.
That was fun, and it gives you someone to talk to, and you solve the puzzle together. And there's not a lot of games where you solve a puzzle together, just the two of you.
No.
And it has a co-op games I quite like. I like a co-op game.
Yeah.
It's good. We then played the competitive version where one player played the system, the computer. That was, I had a go at that. And the other person's trying to do their thing, and the system player then takes some of the cards out of one of the discard decks, adds up some numbers, and they've got a little menu of things they can do to make the game harder for the other person, and they win if the other person loses. It was okay.
Yeah, it was different.
It didn't feel like it was necessarily super balanced.
No.
It didn't feel necessarily like I'd want to play that again.
From the non-system players or just the normal players' perspective, it just felt like I was playing the same game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't really make any difference.
There were a couple times where I moved bullets to the front of the queue so they were more likely to mess you up, and you didn't have as long to mess with them. There were some points where you had like a really easy board, so I just cleared it, got rid of it all.
Yeah, so a few points where I was frustrated at you specifically rather than the game.
But mostly you were doing your thing,
and
I was just trying to make it a bit more difficult for you.
Yeah, it just didn't seem to be different enough.
Yeah.
But equally, it still played the same way, so if you enjoyed that style of game, potentially it might work for you.
Yeah. But like with Fugitive, we played the game and then I was like, let's swap over. With Codinca, we played the game and we were like, oh, let's play it again. So we played a couple games in a row, and that's generally the feeling I've had every time I've played those games. It's like, oh, let's play it again. With the competitive version of SuperHot, I was like, that was done.
Yeah.
We're finished now.
Cool.
Off we go. You didn't have any urge to play as the system.
No, not really.
Playing as the system was a little bit dull. You've only got 4 things you can do, and quite often in a turn, because of the types of cards you've got, you can't actually do all 4. You don't have that choice. Sometimes you can do one thing.
Yeah.
And you may not want to do that thing.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't actually help in any way.
Yeah.
So
it's almost a point where the cards in your hand don't really matter. You're just looking at numbers to then move a card on a board.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah, but there were times when I was like, this is really going to mess with him.
Yeah.
So
it's got its moments.
But it's hit and miss, and it's not consistent enough.
The cooperative game, it's been a while since we played the cooperative version, but I remember us playing it 2-3 times in a row because it's like, okay, we understand how it works. Yeah. Oh, we didn't beat this puzzle. I want to do it again. Let's try again. Yeah. And it was satisfying and I wanted to keep playing it.
Yeah. Now, SuperHot isn't as big a recommendation as the other games. I think as a puzzle game, it's probably the most satisfying game when it goes right.
Yes.
But there are 2 issues that I have with the game. The first issue is the issue of game balance. You have a big deck of different objectives. You play level 1, you draw 1 objective and you try to complete it. You play level 2, you draw 2 objectives and try and complete them both. And then you do 3 and then that's game.
Yeah.
The problem is some of those objectives are much easier to achieve than others, and they're drawn randomly, and there's loads of them, and you're only using, say, 6 in a game, or in the case of a competitive game, actually you only play to level 2. and if the player, the fighter, not the system,
Yeah.
wins level 2, they've won the game.
Yeah.
Which you didn't win. You suck. I don't know whether that was because I played really well.
Yeah,
you were
it was
unlucky, because there is definitely an element of luck in what order the cards come out and what cards get into your hand at what time, which you can mitigate.
Yes.
There's a lot of mitigating that luck, but again, there can be things where if
Well,
it was any card but that one, you'd have won. And then that...
It didn't quite feel like that. It felt like the bad draws I had towards the end have been because you'd done things to make it that way for me. But it was the objectives.
You had an objective where you wanted... There's 6 slots on the conveyor belt of time, and you wanted 3 bullets at a time in there. So you were kind of deliberately letting things fire bullets, but then you weren't able to get enough out at the same time, but then you ended up with lots in your hand and you died because I put too many bullets in and it killed you.
Yes.
You never quite got 3 at once. You just kind of got murdered by 2 and then 2 and then 2 and then 2. And if you run out of bullets in the deck, there's too many bullets in the game and you just die horribly. So there's another win or lose condition. If you end up with too much stuff piled up, then that becomes tricky. That won't become tricky. It becomes fatal. You lose because you don't have that. You don't have to take things into your deck. You can knock them out and put them in the other deck. You don't get to use them though.
Yeah. And you lose a card to do that. So that card you use also goes there. So
but all the cards
reducing your deck
that you've run past have to go in your deck. So if you're playing, say, 4 cards just to clear one shotgun thing, because it's really scary and it fires loads of bullets, you might end up with 4 cards piling up in your deck each turn. And then suddenly you're starting to get overwhelmed and you're kind of just getting slowed down, I suppose, and bogged down with too much stuff. But because the deck of objectives is so variable, you're drawing from this giant deck and you get the wrong things, it can be immediately really, really hard. Now you get to veto an objective and put it aside, but then you have to use it in the next level. I would say have 1 veto per level. Just like set it on fire, put it in the bin, lick it and stick it to the wall, whatever it is you want to do. I just get rid of it. Because they just don't feel balanced. Sometimes you have a game where it's really easy. Your first level, kill 10 blokes.
Simple enough.
And it was have 3 bullets in line at once. That's really hard. But the real issue with this game, and this I think is going to be the thing that puts people off if they're going to be put off, is the rulebook. We found it really hard to play this game to start with. And we had, when I picked it up from the UK Games Expo way back in 2017, 1,000 years ago in a happier, cooler time, it's really hard to work out from the rulebook what you're going to do. Like, to the point where we couldn't remember, because we hadn't played it in a while, we couldn't remember whether the player used the top or the bottom of the card, because there's different values on the top and on the bottom. And it tells you in one sentence halfway through a paragraph on like the 3rd page that isn't in the bit that tells you what cards do. It has a very logical flow. You do X, then Y, then Z, end of turn. New turn, do A, then B, then C, turn. That's your bit done. Then X, Y, Z to resolve the turn. And then that works really well and is really simple when you get the hang of it.
But it doesn't play like a game normally would you'd expect it to. You don't play a card and discard it back into your own deck. You discard it somewhere else and that moves somewhere.
It has things like the player discard pile that the player never discards into. The obstacles discard into there sometimes, and then you have the obstacle discard where the player's played cards go in. They haven't named things well, and it's really tricky just to kind of get your head around the flow. And the rulebook does not help. It needs a flow chart. It needs a X, Y, Z, and it has that on a little card, but the card doesn't explain what any of the things mean, and then you have to wade through the rulebook. So we've played this a lot before. We've played like game nights of like, almost of it when we were playing it. We played it 3-4 times in a row, more than once. But every time we've come back to it after a little break, we've gone, how does this work again? Look in the rulebook. And I got angry trying to find out what happens. Because I know something happens here. These go, where does it... And it made me really, really annoyed. So when we come to review this, we are going to do a little how to play and try and make it into a little very simple thing. Because this goes here, this goes here, this goes here. This is how you do it. Because I do really enjoy the game.
Because that actual mechanic is actually quite simple once it's explained well.
But the rulebook does a terrible terrible job of explaining it.
Yeah.
I mean, we first played it after having a demo game at the UK Games Expo.
Yeah.
So we had a rough idea of what should be happening, and I was still angry with it the first 2 times we played it. Because it's like, are we doing this right? I don't know. It doesn't explain it very well. Even bullet points would be easier.
Just space things out, yeah.
And some kind of timing chart of what you do when, without it being bogged down in lots of paragraphs. It could also do with like a picture of the card and some arrows saying what each bit is used for and when it goes off. Because again,
it's not in there, is it?
No,
it's in every other rule book ever, but not in that one.
No, but it's not in there. And the examples in the rulebook is not very big. It is A5 sized, and the examples are really, really tiny. The pictures, sorry, the text is really hard to.
Yeah, did it? You're looking at
very hard
sort of
to see.
an inch high, if you're lucky.
That's absolutely tiny, and then really tiny text.
Yeah,
and I'm getting old, and looking at that kind of thing isn't necessarily the easiest, and it just loses a bit of clarity, which is a shame because I reckon it's the kind of game a lot of people bounce off of and go, "What on earth is happening? Oh, I don't like it." Whereas actually, we've had great fun playing it co-op.
Yeah.
Competitive, meh, but I would highly recommend it. Anyone who likes a really good, again, puzzle. It's all been puzzle games. Maybe there should be 2-player puzzle game. The podcast.
Yeah.
I suppose this is the one that's closest to a pure puzzle. It sets itself up.
Yes.
Whereas the other two are
you're
solving other people's puzzles.
Yes. Both people set them up in that one player.
Fugitive, one player's setting up a puzzle and trying to bluff it. Yeah. So look out for our reviews of these because we've played them all quite a bit recently, hence why we could talk about them, but we'll give you a more kind of clearer, a much more visually appealing explanation and run through of our thoughts. But it's nice just to sit back and kick back and be a bit more informal on a podcast.
Yeah.
So if you've watched us on YouTube, don't forget you can go to iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Podbean, Podcast Addict, and all other good and not so good podcast providers, and download us and take us with you like tiny gremlins that live in your ears to amuse you as you travel about your daily business. And of course, if you do listen to us on any of those, don't forget you can now come to YouTube and watch our beautiful faces emote, and I gesture a lot.
Yeah I rub my beard a lot.
You have a very expressive face, actually. I like it.
Do weird things with it. It's not always appropriate for what I'm supposed to be expressing, but it is expressive.
But self-expression is important.
I like to think of myself as an abstract art piece.
On that note then, I've been Brian.
And I've been Aaron.
We have been the Critical Twits. If you really, really like what we do, then please, people tell you to subscribe and to like the thing, and that's great. We love it when people do that. But the best thing for us is when people tell their friends about what we do, whether they tag people in something that we've done and released on Facebook, whether they share it, whether they retweet us. Those things are what really helps our channel grow, and what we really, really, really appreciate, because it's really difficult out there. There's kind of a saturation of people doing what we do, and we're better than most of them.
Yeah. Sounds a little egotistical, but some of the ones I listen to have been. They're not terrible. They've got an interesting voice.
We've done over 100 episodes. I think we kind of know what we're doing.
Yeah.
And some people like what we do, and if you're one of those, find someone else you think would like it, and tell them, and force them to watch and or listen to us. Tie them to a chair with gaffer tape. Put some kind of toothpick in their eyes. Make sure to hydrate the eyes so that they don't dry out. But then force them to watch us until the mere thought of an act of violence makes them sick. That's the plot to Clockwork Orange, isn't it?
It is, and I'm starting to worry that you kidnapped your own family.
Yes, I did. But that brings us all the way back round to fruit. Fruit made of gears and bits of metal. Until next time, bye!
Bye.
Clockwork Orange.
Oh, yeah.
That's good.
I get it now.
It's a film. Heroin.
Train Spotting.
Ah!